Hi, I'm Allie with the Potomac Bead Company, and I'm going to show you how to do our Blazing Bicones bracelet. To do this bracelet, we're going to be using Swarovski Crystal 6mm beads. You're going to need whatever color you do as your base color on the sides. You're going to need 66 of that color, and then you're going to need 34 6mm beads for the inside flower sections. You're also going to be using 8/0 seed beads. These are galvanized silver that I'm using, a size 10 English beading needle or a wide-eye needle, and you're using .006 fire line or wildfire thread. To start this bracelet, what I've done is I've added a stop bead onto an arm's length of thread and threaded on 4 of the 6mm crystals in my base color. When I refer to base color, it's the color that is not my flowers. I have 4 on, and this is based on right angle weave. What I'm going to do then is sew back through my original 3 beads in the same direction that I did previously, from left to right. With seed beads, I usually work from left to right, keeping my stop bead at the end, and then I know where I've started and where I've begun. This is known as my first raw unit or right angle unit. It creates a circle. So with the circle there, I'm going to continue by adding 3 more crystals, and this is going to be the pattern throughout the bracelet for this first layer. So I'm adding 3 more crystals to my needle, and I'm using that same base color. So from now on, I'm going to be adding 3 crystals. You only do 4 at the start. I'm going to sew back through the last crystal and the next 2 crystals as well. So again, those 3 beads in the raw unit. Pull my needle out, and that's going to sit and have 2 circles of crystals sitting right next to one another. At this point now, I'm going to add the crystals that are going to be part of my flower section right here. For that, I'm going to pick up 2 of the color that I'm going to be working with for my flower, and then I'm going to pick up 1 of my base color. So again, I add 3 beads, and I'm going to count the last bead added there as part of that raw unit. I go through the first bead, the next 2 color beads, and then I pull my needle out. Right angle weave is just based on a series of large figure 8s. I want to pull taut as I'm working. Then a little indication of what colors you add as you continue is whatever color crystal you're coming out of, you're going to be adding 2 of the other color and then 1 of the color that you're coming out of. So I'm going to be adding 2 of my blues and then 1 of my brown beads. What that's going to do is create a portion of my flower. Again, sewing through 3 beads, that original bead that was on there, and I'm going to sew through my 2 beads and pull the needle out. Again, pull tight, and that's going to get the bottom portion of your flower. Now that I'm coming out of a blue, I'm going to add 2 more of an alternating color and 1 more blue and continue on my bracelet. When I finish and I get to the end of my length, instead of going through 2 beads, or 3 beads, I'm only going to go through 2 of my crystals to create my loop. What that's going to do is have the needle and the thread coming out right here at the top of this crystal. I'm going to be adding another row of the right angle weave on top of this first row. To do that, I have been adding 3 beads at a time. What I'm going to be doing is adding 2 beads at a time. Like the beginning, for the first time, I'm going to add 3 beads, and then I'm going to decrease to adding 2, 2, and 2 of the crystals. The first bead I'm going to add, again, I'm going to add 3 beads on. And I'm just doing this blue color because I'm at the side, and I haven't gotten into my flower pattern yet. So I'm adding 3 beads to start, And what I'm going to do then is go around in a circle. The beads are going to lay right next to one another, and I'm going to go through again my first original 1, 2, 3 beads, and I'm going to be coming out right here in order to add my next roll unit. I'm going to sew through here. That's going to create my circle, so I throw through that first original bead, and then same as before, I sew through the next 2 beads. When I go to add my next bead in the pattern, I'm only going to be adding 2 beads because I already have 2 beads that are set into the roll unit. So I have 1 bead here, 1 bead here. I need to add 2 additional beads. I'm going to add 1 of my blue beads, and then I'm going to add 1 of my crystal color, that light Colorado topaz. And how these beads are going to sit is they're going to sit right in there and form my first flower. You're going to continue on with that again, sewing through the 2 beads that are already in the bracelet that are part of your roll unit. Sew through that 3rd bead just like we did at the start. And again, now I'm going to go in and add 2 more beads to those beads that are there in the blue color. So now that I'm done with my rows, my thread is coming out at the bottom of my project, and I've actually decided after stringing to switch to gold seed beads because it looks a little bit nicer with the colors. What I'm going to be doing is adding seed beads, the top row right along, the 2nd row, and then the 3rd row. To start, I add a seed bead onto my needle, thread through my crystal on the end. I'm adding an additional seed bead here, threading through. And basically I'm filling in all the corners with seed beads. Then to sew down my rows, I take my needle through the side of the crystal here. And I'm just going to pick up seed beads as I go, sewing through each crystal and then adding a seed bead. When I do the middle rows is when I add my clasps. And if you're unfamiliar with how to add your clasps, you can also check out our other YouTube videos. And as I sew down along the side, I just keep going. Once I reach the end, I do my middle row. When I do my middle row, in between my flowers, I often will use teardrop beads because they just give a nice little illusion of the center of the bicones.